people are upset with how Severance season 2 ended. I've been seeing a lot of complaining on the internet. Dusty's looking like he's one of the complainers. I can see that smirk on his face.
Oh, he's been complaining all the time. I'm sick of it.
Oh, yeah. But I think for most people, the disappointment says more about how they were watching the show than the actual show itself. Severance is not like a mystery box, okay? It's a deeply emotional story about identity and grief and rebellion against systems of control and other things. And if you were just like hunting for theories and puzzle pieces, you probably missed the point. Now, I know I was guilty of that too.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you walked away disappointed, like, I don't think the show let you down. I think you just weren't really kind of watching it. I noticed around the episode where it went into Cobell's backstory, a few episodes back, like the third to last one or whatever, where it explored her past. For a lot of people, it just seemed like, because the show for like 1 second dropped the whole like super mysterious sci-fi shtick, people like lost their minds about it and were like, oh, this is boring, nobody cares about this. When I'm just like, well, this is like a really important piece of character backstory, because as we found out, it like informs the next steps of Cobell's behavior and possibly going forward in the show. I think people watching for clues and like all this shit every week kind of just like lost sight of the bigger picture. And then when it ended, I think that's why they were disappointed. I'm curious what we all thought about the finale and season 2 overall. So let's dive in, Marvin.
Oh, dude, I thought it was an amazing episode. We get like the first convo between Outie and Innie Mark, which was really cool to see, and the way they did it was great. Outie Mark, he definitely was lying his ass off. That was concerning.
I don't think he was lying, actually. It's funny, though. I get why you think that. I think he just didn't know how to answer because he didn't think it that far through.
Yeah, that's fair. Which I mean, he definitely lied about the reason that he reintegrated.
Yeah. But I think what he did was worse than just straight up lying, because it shows that he gave such little thought to it that he doesn't even recognize Innie Mark as like a person. And that was a big part of this season of like the Innies developing, this season really stressed that their identity and who they are as individuals, not just worker bees inside clone people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they for sure see them as just small little parts of themselves and not their own person.
The fact that Mark didn't like even...
A compartmentalized version of themselves.
Out of sight, out of mind. The fact that he didn't even consider that he would be like... basically taking Innie Mark's life away.
Right.
Is crazy.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because that's what Lumen is creating, as compartmentalized versions of yourself.
I thought it was cool to see, on the other hand, Dylan, though, basically recognized his Innie as being his own person and like finding comfort in his confidence and that sort of thing. I thought that was cool to see.
Yeah, that was nice. It was a really good story arc. And I think, you had kind of given her some shit initially when they...
yeah, she still cheated, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, but I think she had a nice little come around. Like she didn't...
Yeah.
Because they were...
She confessed.
Well, I think it strengthens their marriage overall. I don't know if we're ever going to see them again, but...
I think so, because, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, if you look at them as their own person, it's kind of weird. It's like, he's still him, and it's like a different version of him, so it's like, he's hoping that she could see what she sees in him in Outie Dylan.
Yeah.
But it's like, if they're different people, that's where it kind of gets flawed, I feel like.
I love the way that when Mark first saw the tape that Innie Mark made him, he like has this like wondrous like look of like, wow, this is a totally different person who just happens to look like me.
That was great,
They did it really well.
Yeah, they did. The one I feel for the most is Helly, because
heartbreaking.
Obviously, Helly's Outie has no type of concern or care for her Innie. So even if this reintegration thing that Mark was talking about were to happen, Helena would never do such a thing. So it's like she's literally just a prisoner of this, she's just a prisoner through and through. Whereas at least the other people, you think they're like, we'll try to, like separate us somehow or make you your own, whatever, right? But like, yeah, that one hurt the most from watching this episode.
My biggest complaint with this story is like it's getting into the Walking Dead territory of like I want to rewatch the whole thing with a stopwatch just to see how much time they spend people walking down the same hallway where nothing happens and we're just watching them walk down the hallway. And I get you're building a scene, but we've seen this scene a million times. We're 2 seasons in. We don't need to spend 5 minutes walking down a hallway where nothing happens in one episode. Please stop it.
What questions do you think are missing that you want answered?
I mean, what is Lumen really up to? How did they get the
So you want to know that
start? Stuff. Like, yeah, that's what most people I think want to know is what's going on. Why are they doing this? Are they doing this to everybody? Or are they like not just, oh wow, this is a really gripping tale on the exposition of these people and their innies and their outies, and I don't really care what's going on because it's just fantastic character development. It's like, no, people want to know like why the fuck this shit's happening.
Yeah.
And like there's a valid complaint, obviously, because the internet is a buzz.
The reason I asked.
Like I get it. And it, like you said, some shows it just kind of takes you a little bit to get into. Well, it's like you can't get into it if you constantly don't know what the fuck's going on. You're just like, I'm just supposed to watch these people experience life in a world that I don't know and I don't understand. That's compelling to some people, but most people are going to start tuning out, I think.
I think it's a mix of people as far as like the reason they're watching it and what they expect of the show. Because when I look at Twitter, it's just people that are just obsessed with just the relationships that some of these characters have between each other. Like,
you're in the good part of Twitter. I'm in the shitty part of Twitter.
People are obsessed with like Mark and Helly and Dylan, or mostly like Irv and Bert.
I do see a lot of that too. It was just after this finale where I saw a lot of there were a lot of people, they didn't like how it ended. And they were upset that, spoilers, Innie Mark at the last second decides to not leave with Gemma. After the buildup of 2 seasons of, is Gemma alive? What are they doing to her? Oh, fuck, she is alive. Oh, they're torturing her, basically. Oh, we got to get her out. Here's the master plan. We got her out. And at the last second, he's just like, nope. Sucker.
It was like that tweet I posted. I don't think I will. The cap thing. Like.
Sorry, I'm like dying. The story itself, like that part of it, that beat of like, oh, fuck, like he didn't leave. What does that mean for the future? Like, I think if you had a problem with it, or because I think, here's what I think. I think a lot of people have been rooting for Outie Mark this whole time, for the reconnection of Mark and Gemma. When I think, I don't know what the creators, what their like intent is, but if I had to guess, you're supposed to be rooting for Innie Mark and the Innies and recognizing them as people, or at least having this like inner battle with yourself of like, oh fuck, like I definitely understand both sides of it, right?
I think it's a battle, like you said, and some people will feel both, but some people will prefer like, oh, I want this couple to succeed, or I want this, and I think I do think that's their direction. I think they designed it that way.
Because I had this conversation.
Or it could just be a way to continue the story, and that now Gemma's out and Mark's going to be stuck in there. And for the next 2 seasons, they're going to try and break Mark out of the goddamn building.
That was my only concern, is I don't know where the third season is going to go.
Have no idea.
But I am open to that because, I mean, that's kind of what the whole show has been like. Like, I don't know where this is going. I mean, so we're continuing that. That's cool. I mean,
I had this conversation with my aunt about the Innies and the Outies, because her initial approach was like, oh, well, fuck the Innies. And I'm like, how could you be watching the show and have that opinion?
That's crazy.
And it's like, that's the whole point of this season specifically. Like I told you, like we all know, like, yeah, they're people. Sure, we get it. But like this season did like it put such a microscope on that fact of exploring them as people and their relationships and like their passions and their loves and all this stuff. And he has that really like nice moment with Helly where she's like, no, you got to do it because like we can't be together based on who my outie is. Like, she's like, what do you think? She's gonna like, okay, cool, your outie's gonna reintegrate you or whatever. You think Helena Egan is gonna do that? Like, no,
Right.
like we can't be together, so just do what you got to do.
For me, what it was like a last attempt at, because like Haley earlier on in the episode, she was like, we don't know how much time we have left and this and that.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what it was about. Like, we may get to the first episode of the next season and it's just like, it didn't even last that long, right? Like they kind of get like kicked out or whatever the case may be there.
Right.
But for what I felt like, they were just like defying their fate that, that was laid out for them and trying to stay together as long as they possibly could, even if it's for like 10 more minutes or whatever.
Yeah, of course. They chose to live even if it kills them. Like,
yeah.
For like a second, because they know really
Exactly.
it's like they are ultimately not in control of their own lives.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
that's what I saw. As just like a last ditch, even if it's 5 minutes or whatever it is, right?
And I thought that was beautiful, really. And I thought it was beautifully done. That last shot of them like running towards the camera, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And they had that like childlike sort of love that they've had all season. I thought that was excellent. Yeah,
Haley R, she got like her little moment there where he's like, I choose you, basically.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as answers go, Dusty, to revisit that, and I asked you for a specific reason because I kind of had a realization. I like theory crafting and I love finding Easter eggs and all that stuff. But I actually think now that I'm looking back on the season and I'm actually thinking about it from like an outside perspective, I don't really think a lot of that shit is going to mean anything or be answered. I think a lot of it is just there for like weird, like kind of subtle little like, little mood things or world building things. I don't know that we're ever going to find out a lot of this stuff. We're never going to find out what the doppelganger things are in the office that we saw in the woods. Like, that's just there to be weird and like to kind of give you a little bit of a hint. I don't know if that's ever going to get paid off. I don't know if we're ever going to find out like why the rooms are named what they're named. I don't know if we're ever going to find out like really a lot of the stuff that I think was being theorized of what Lumen's doing. What was the goat room about? I don't think we're ever going to really
What
learn.
would have happened if they would have sacrificed Gemma and the goat? Like, what were they? What was the Lumen cult hoping would have happened there?
Yeah.
Like, how are we ever going to know that? That's going to piss people off if we never know that. Like, that's a big, you built it all up and you did this whole thing. And then if you just leave it there and you move on to like more character development and don't answer it and build up this other thing because it's crazy cult, people are going to be like, yeah, I don't care anymore because you're not telling me anything.
I think there's parts of those things that we'll learn and that are important. I think other parts are just sort of little like, little Salt Bay flavorings to just kind of spruce things up. But I just kind of now got the impression that like the show's not really about like answers. Obviously it's about people. At the end, you don't really get it. Maybe you don't get a lot of answers, but I think you do get catharsis, which is a little bit different than answers. Because I felt very satisfied with the way it ended for all parties involved. Like Gemma got out of whatever she was being tortured by. Mark
without dying.
Yeah, without dying. Well, so far. Mark, she still got to go through the rest of the building. Outie Mark like knows that she's out and she's safe and alive. So that's his win. Innie Mark got to spend however long he has left with Helly. Like, so everybody kind of got like little wins. Even Irv and Dylan. As Marvin said, Dylan's sort of story arc has a pretty nice conclusion where he recognizes his Innie as like the parts of him that he could be, that he now needs to strive to be to save his marriage and like all this stuff that he wants to strive to be. He says in his letter, like, I've always been, what does he say? I've never been much of a, I've never been much to impress. I never impressed much or something like, he says something along those
like
lines.
That. Yeah.
And so that's nice. I think Irving, while we don't really know what and why he was investigating Lumen, it seems like he had like a peaceful sort of send off. Like he was happy with his outcome. Again, will that play out more? I don't know. But so I think there was some catharsis in the ending. And, I just don't know that the show anymore, like, I don't know if it has to like reward the audience for cracking codes and stuff. Like, again, we said earlier with like the thing, like that stuff is fun and I love it. But is it? I don't think that's. I think that a lot of people like myself were just like really like focused in on that shit when we shouldn't have been.
I mean, but it's going to be divisive that way because when you create a show this far out there and you kind of tease elements of it, people are going to want to know automatic. I mean, it's just in our nature to, if we're enjoying this, kind of want to have more informed, No,
I get the frustration. So. I get the frustration. I'm simply saying, like, if you're frustrated, maybe just, step back instead of waiting for plot answers. Maybe you're just waiting for plot answers when the characters are giving you emotional answers the whole time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But overall, I thought the season was great. I thought the finale was really great. I was surprised how violent it got when Drummond got shot in the neck with the goat thing. Fuck that guy.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, it was
Drummond. So
highlight of the show.
I love the sequence of seeing the different marks and gemmas when they were going, like, from in the room where it was a different Innie Gemma to outside where they were finally like actually Outie Gemma and Outie Mark.
Yeah.
Then it was Miss Casey and Mark.
It was nice seeing them reunited finally. Like Mark seeing that she's alive, and it was good. Good payoff. But yeah, overall liked it. 10 out of 10 season for me. I don't know about you guys, but it was good. And it was worth the wait too. Don't forget, we had to wait through a writer's strike and COVID and all sorts of
Hopefully
shit.
It's a lot faster this time without messing up the quality.
But yeah, let us know, folks. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of season 2 of Severance and this finale. If you have any theories for season 3, be sure to let us know too, because I don't really know where the show's going to go at this point, which I actually like feeling that way. I like not really knowing where it's going to go.